Every journal reaches that almost finished stage, the moment when just a few thoughtful touches make it feel whole. Yeah, this is the paper that I started out with that I don't particularly love. I even have more in that hue of green. But today I'm going to share a flip through of this journal that's all about torn things. And I started most of it in the Torn Paper Tuesday videos. Today we'll also craft an envelope that's been given a twist with vellum. The envelope is made with a paper punch, but you don't have to do that. You can just make your own template. And then I tear it apart on purpose and put it back together again with a transparent strip running through the middle. It's made from vellum. And when we're done, you'll see how these envelopes tucked into the cover turn a nearly finished journal into something complete. So here are the envelopes. You can see the vellum part that shows what will be in the middle inside the envelope. And because I started with tearing all of these, there's like a gap between them so that I can tuck something in. My whole premise with tearing these strips of scrapbook paper, firstly, is to use up what's already in my stash, this book of scrapbook papers, and disguising them. And tearing is the perfect solution for that. So, finding a spot for the envelope to fit, and I have that. I did I tore apart that paper with the painted leaves in a Torn Paper Tuesday. It's funny how it's working out. A friend mentioned in a comment last week that Tuesdays are my tearing up things and Fridays are my Finish It Friday video. And I love that. Thanks, Renee. So I'm making this part, the envelope punch, to help one of the other crafters that I work with in person sometimes. She has a punch board. So as you can see, there's numbers on the bottom part of the punch board. And the numbers are the card size, the paper size, and the score line. Now the card size I'm choosing is 3x4. The paper size I'm now cutting to 6x6. And the little mark, a pencil mark that you see, is what I use the score line, 2 inches at 5/8. And I put a pencil mark on my punch board. My goal is to tell you how to use the punch board in case you're ever confused. If you see the circled note there, you only use the score line of 2 and 5/8. You see that long score line at the top? You only use it the first time. What I've circled, you use every time after that. So I punch, and then I use make a line, score line. There we go. Now I'm going to ink these edges so you can see clearly how it works. You end up with something that looks like the image on the punch board. You saw how I first lined the first cut up at that pencil line. Now for all the others, you use the score indicator. Line that up, punch, and then score. So that's the second part of the envelope. Back to that indicator. Punch and score. So you only use the pencil line I made because it's hard to see the numbers on the punch board, at least for my eyes that are challenged. Punch, and now we're doing the last scoring. So what you end up with are 4 punched areas, 4 score lines, and you'll see how quickly and easily an envelope comes together. I like using a punch board because my ability to measure leaves something to be desired. So what I'm doing is I'm going to use vellum to make a window, but not just a square window or whatever. I'm going to tear it. First, I make the little straight edge where you'll see as it comes together what I mean. And I'm using my template, which is down on my mat with some painter's tape, so it stays steady. And then I'm going to tear. And I'm going to tear horizontally the length to make a window from one length to another. See, like that. And I have so many other papers that I could use. But yeah, starting with this, tearing horizontally. And it doesn't matter what width you tear or where you tear, because you have the template underneath to work out how you're going to place the vellum on. I suppose you could do it the opposite way also. I'll experiment a little bit with that. We don't use the torn part for anything. I suppose I could use it in the journal, but using the template underneath, and I just washi tape it on with a little bit of thin washi because I didn't want it to slide. If you're more dexterous, anyhow, if your hands work better than mine, you can use it with the washi tape. And then I'll take my strip of vellum, measure the part in between the 2 openings, the part that is torn out, and glue the washi on. Glue the vellum on. Remembering that I'm going to be folding this up like an envelope, and the vellum also has to fold. Now, as I mentioned, you don't need to use a punch board. You can take apart an envelope that you already have. You can create your own envelope. I happen to have the punch board, and my focus is to use what's in my craft room, whether it's a tool or whether it's paper or whether it's stickers. Yeah, you're going to see some stickers later. That I had 2 packs of them, and I decided that this scrapbook paper would work for these almost Art Nouveau or Art Deco kind of stickers. So there, now it's back together, and I'm going to trim off the extra vellum so that we're back with the original shape of the envelope. That's art glitter glue that I use, by the way. No glitter in that glue. And then fold it. Folding the vellum also. Now I did try this with tracing paper and it worked, but this vellum is much more sturdy, so I decided to use this. Again, it's in my craft room. I'm going to use it. Yeah, I'm telling myself that I can't buy anything new unless it's glue or something that can be consumed until I've used up some of the stuff that's already in my craft room. So that's often what the Torn Paper Tuesday is about. This next Torn Paper Tuesday, I'm going to be working with encyclopedia pages from the 1890s, and you know how those papers can get very brittle? I've found a couple of ways to make them sturdy. So there's a tag that I made. I think that was last Friday. And I want to add some writing space, because this journal, whenever I start a new book, especially a book if it's from the library and I can't write in it, or I don't want to write in a book like this one, I make myself a journal, and I use it sort of like a commonplace book, where I put in all the points from the book that I want to remember. So this, ironically, is a book that I'm reading currently about reading more. But it's a little more than that. That's the general idea, how to read and get the same kind of dopamine hit as you do from scrolling on social media. So this creator provided a list of 12 books to the end of training your brain to receive the same kind of good feelings that we get when we scroll on social media from reading. So I'm going to write down in this journal that I'm making right now the points I want to remember about the book. So there has to be lots of places to write. So I'm using a paper that I have from a journal book. I know, it would be easier just to use the journal. Technically, yes, but this is much more fun, making our own journals, and we can identify and have memory of why and what we're using. So I attach that lined page. I've torn it to the specific size, and I might add something pretty to embellish it, like that. That was in my stash too, along with all those stickers that you see strewn about the table. That was something I made with paper that I dyed, and I put a stamp that's like a label on that paper. So I'm trying to balance out the stickers that I put in. You see the top one on the right hand side that's on a tag is at the top, and on the opposite side the lady's on the bottom. That is a card I made from torn strips over top of some junk mail that was sent, and it's behind some vellum. You'll see if you watch the Torn Paper Tuesday from this week how I decorated the vellum, just stamping on it, but still, it was interesting. Now I'm thinking what needs or what could go on the back of that envelope that's at the middle of the signature. I have lots of washi, so I'm using up the washi that I have, and I like the one image that, of course, is not at the beginning, a little down, so I'll have to find a place to put the first image, and using the second on the back of the envelope. It's a paper bag. I like adding paper bags to the middle of my signatures because they provide an easy place to tuck something, and something extra that's not just a paper. Yeah, so on those two sides I'll put more of that lined paper. Now this here I used the Distress ink, Distress Oxide, and this is called a smoosher. Natalie Bowers, she demonstrated how to make one, and I put that strong ink background on it, and I didn't do it anywhere else. I decided I didn't care for it. And the cascading little envelopes that you see, that I'm showing you now, I made that in another video. I'll link that below and in the first comment. You can watch. I have two different ways to make cascading envelopes. And to make it work, I had blue washi, and blue didn't suit this, but I wanted to use it in the journal, so I just added some green washi over top, and that worked, as you can see. And I'm adding more stickers of those ladies. The colors work well. and the images of the paper work well. And here is the other envelope. And they can get tucked in all kinds of places. Take care. It's Laurie at Positive Thanks Living. Happy crafting. Bye for now. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. This is the book that I'm currently reading and made the journal for. Bye.